Soon we'll be on.
We're recording. Sorry.
That's all right.
We're official. We're recording.
Only because we just decided to record at the, as we're having a conversation.
In the middle of a conversation, yes.
That's right. If only it could go back in time and capture what we talk about.
I know. Those are some good conversations.
Right. It would be I don't have it here. It'd be the TARDIS camera. I have a little TARDIS. I was going to do that.
So I'm Emily.
I'm Heather.
And welcome to the 101st Patriot. Heather and I have been talking for how long? Forever? About how to save the world. And we decided to bring you into our conversations.
And the reason is I was just like, oh, yours seem to be a little soft. I'm going to bring your sound up. Because, we come up with some really good ideas, and
we think so.
We think so anyway, but mostly because, when I went to school, there wasn't really a civics class. There was social studies. So we've been talking about a number of things, and it's like, gosh, I wonder how many other people have the question. And as I listen to some other people, they might be upset about what's happening in their world and feel out of control. And, and so as Emily and I have been discussing these things, and sometimes there's just things that we don't know because we're so busy making lives for ourselves, and we trust the people that we've sent, that we voted in. And there's not much you can, well, there is stuff that you can do. We feel like there's nothing you can do. Once they're in, and that's it. But there are things that we can do, and we talk about getting involved locally, but it's like, well, where do you start? And Emily has a wealth of information on that, and we thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting to just have our conversations and then allow people to sit in on them and spy.
I felt that once you did the election, you were done, and you trusted they would do their job. I was like, there's a constitution. I know there's a constitution. I know the vision and the values that I thought were in place, and that if we elected them, they would do their job, and we didn't have to worry about them. And I felt that that each person that either whether I elected them or someone else elected them, that whole group would be your checks and balances. I just trusted that system, that they would be their checks and balances, and they would work for the masses of people. And as I've said, they'll work for the people that did vote for them, but they will also work for the people that didn't vote at all, and the ones that didn't vote for them. Right. Because if you're just catering to the people that like you or that voted for you, you aren't really serving the people that you were elected to serve.
Right. Well, and primarily because everybody, well, and what was I hearing? Even school teachers, if you have a government position, even our postal workers, you swear that you to uphold the Constitution. I mean, that is our law of the land, and yeah.
Yeah, and we joke because, like I said, Heather and I have had conversations at least weekly, maybe even a little more often sometimes. And we call it our Save the World conversations, because we're like, if everyone just listened to us, oh my goodness, it would just all be peaches and roses. But we know that that's not really true. We thought we would have this conversation because we do think that there's some ideas, and we want people to get engaged, to understand that even if they can only give a little time, they should. That we, the people, are really the checks and balances. We, the people, are the accountability for our elected people. And it's funny, I was just thinking about it yesterday, that I actually wrote down that we hire them. We don't just elect them. We actually hire them. So I'm their boss. And not just me, obviously, but all the people. We are collectively, the collective we are their bosses. And we wouldn't, if we had a company and we hired somebody, would we not train them? Would we just let them do whatever they wanted to and expect to get the results that we wanted to get?
Well, and would you not have certain requirements? I've often thought that, just like a lot of professionals, doctors, accountants, they have to have CEU, continuing education, continually.
Mm-hmm.
and they have to fulfill that so that they have a license, so they can continue practicing, doing what they do. There's also, they have to have certain degrees. So if you had a company and you wanted to hire, um I don't fill in the blank professional. You wanted, so let's say, an attorney, and you wanted to have an on-staff attorney. Would you not make sure that they had, number one, some law background from school, and then two, that they passed the bar, and that, they're doing all of what they're supposed to do? But, the nice thing about our government is that anyone
Right.
can participate, and that is nice.
It's supposed to be, I always look at it that in order to serve for your government, you need to know what the founding documents are, because this is the country documents, the state documents. Whether you're serving in a federal level or a state or a city level, you look at the documents that run that city, that organization, that government. And if you can, quite frankly, if you can at least read and understand those, and you have some experience, some life experience, then you are ready. You are the person. But then if you lose sight of any of that, if you lose sight of being a neighbor to the people in your city, if you lose sight of knowing what these documents stand for, and I heard this the other day, actually, the documents don't give us our rights. We have our rights. That's why it starts off, we have inalienable rights.
Right.
And why? Because they're already there. We already have our rights. They were already given to us. Those documents are just there to preserve them. So when people think that they need to change them to give us rights, well, that's not true. And that's where, as you and I talked about, Civics 101, people don't understand that.
Right. And actually, something interesting I heard, and I don't remember who I heard it from, but it's not inalienable, it's inalienable. And it takes that, because if you think of a lien, like, if you have a lien on your property, you have, somebody else that can, that has, I'm trying to think, how do I want to word that? I don't know. But it is like, oh, it has a different connotation. We have, kind of just
Yeah.
that pronunciation, and then, like, kind of the legal definition. It's like, no, no one has a lien on our rights.
Right.
And because if you look at the word, it's like, yep, it also looks like the other way too. But I'm like, that's a very interesting thing. It's nice listening to scholars, people that, have just spent their lives studying, and they're passionate about studying, not just the Constitution and history, but yeah, both of them put together. It's just, it's fascinating. Sometimes I wish I had the time.
I love that, because I'm a word girl.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah. I like
I
it. I like
am,
having things right. It's like, oh, it's hard to change once you've heard inalienable forever, and it's ingrained. It's inalienable. So
interesting.
no one's able to put it. And really, it's. I like the accuracy of words, because there's a beauty in it. Actually, a beauty in preserving what the actual meanings are, because we can't keep, because that's just, the way it is. That's been since biblical times, right? There's a word for priest, and then, the other side takes it and runs with it. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna, or no, because I was going through, all of the different words. I think that we used seer, and we used, it's like, but it's just nice to just stick to the original definition, original pronunciation. Then there's less chance for misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, I'm a word girl. People know that I will play with words. I have a pretty, and not necessarily big words or anything like that, but just being able to understand the different uses and know when a word has more power to it versus another word that might kind of murk it down or minimize something. And yeah, alienable. That's an interesting, different thought on that word.
If you think, yeah, when we think about it, and a lot of times it seems, and I think I've shared. Well, no, you might have seen that presentation I did once with a Star Trek, where they, they're on the original Star Trek, where they're on the planet, and Kirk and team are in trouble, and then they're hauled before the Council of Elders, and and then they march out the American flag, and then they start reading, the Declaration of Independence, but they had mushed all the words together because it was by rote. It wasn't necessarily, written down. And so then Kirk just starts saying, no, because it was like, we the people we lay, like they had we the people all as one word. And he's like, what? And then he goes on, and then they're like, oh, you must, like as if he's a god and he understands the original text or whatever. But, but the point was, if we don't always think about it, we don't always look to those original texts, and we just kind of, we run the risk of losing it,
Right.
and that's scary.
It is.
And I think that's what we're feeling, and that's why we were having our Save the World conversations, because it's so scary that within our grasp, it's like, who would ever thought in our lifetime that there's this possibility that we could lose what we treasure. And I think both sides of the fence, the thinking on both sides of the fence, thinking people understand that. And
well,
like I had heard it was a conservative commentator talking about, she's deathly afraid that, she's like, I don't want to lose this conversation. I don't want to lose the Democratic Party, is what she was saying.
Right.
And then she explained, she's like, because we were founded on a conversation, two sides coming together.
Right. And yeah, and I've talked about that with the conversations, and even back to words a little bit. One of the things that I have found is that the use of the words has allowed this emotion to be elicited in people, and these feelings that someone is actually out to get them. And I've noticed that even the words are being used on both sides of the conversation in very different ways and for very different purposes. Right. And it's bothersome. It's horrible. And even I tell people, I'm like, take out some of the adjectives. When you read something, take out the adjectives out of these narratives. Just remove them out of there and see if it really incites that emotion the same way it did with all with all those extra words. And maybe when you see a number of 3%, you will realize what 3% is. And instead of saying almost 3%, that's a different emotion than you get. Like, you don't even look at the 3%. You look at almost, you look at nearly, you look at all these words that actually incite this emotion. And that's the thing with words, is that we need to not allow this. And then what happens is some of these words, like I said, get lukewarm. The power that these words should have or could have gets lukewarm. Not even related to some of the stuff, current stuff. I did some math one time with numbers. And that's the other thing too. No, people know that numbers get people really kind of cloudy in their eyes. I don't know if you know, if people get very hazy when it comes to numbers. But again, I'm a word girl and a math girl. So I actually did there was an article I read, and again, not related to what's going on now, but I've seen it similar to now. Is that if you actually took the numbers, in the thing, it said nearly 50% of 25%, or nearly, I think it was 97% of 25%. And then it used a different way of saying the numbers, that if you actually did the math, you would see that they had actually done work on like 120% of people. And I'm like, nope, it's always got to be 100%. You can't have 120%. You can't have the numbers. And so, but you don't do that unless you do the math. But because they changed the way they did it, and you didn't, if you thought about it, that, oh, wait, if it's 97% of 25%, well, wait, out of 100%, that's really only, a small portion or something like that. Or maybe it was even less than that. Maybe it was like, 75% of 5% or something like that. It was really interesting. But the way they did the numbers and the way they were talking about it and the adjectives they used, you were like, whoa. But then take out the adjectives, do the math, and then the numbers didn't add up. And you were like, wait a minute, and like I said, I saw that long before what's going on this last year.
Yeah.
And then even this last year, it just got really, exasperated.
Right. And do you think, I mean, some of it is somebody that's just wanting to get that reaction, so that's their focus, and they're not looking at presenting the truth. They're looking at, oh, how can I make this more? So that they're not even thinking the math. So it might not even be intentional. It's just that, oh, well, hey, this sounds better. Oh, and then that's this and this and this and this. And they're just,
Right.
mixing it up so that way, but then, yeah, then, then some people like it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Let's go back. Let's figure this out, calmly and collectively. And then it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I was thinking, we could do this with a weather report, right? Because, it's, how they would have well it's a 50% chance of cloud. Oh my gosh, that's just horrible. 50% chance of rain, or whatever you want to say.
I know, actually, it's funny you said that.
50% chance of sun too.
Right.
And so which way do we want to go? And it makes me think of this, I can't remember if it was a meme or something, but it said, if you put red like fire ants and regular ants in a jar, they're fine. Then you shake up the jar, and then they start warring, and then they're eating each other or killing each other. And then they said, the question is, who's shaking up the jar? And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Who is shaking up the jar? And to think that even taking out the who is shaking up the jar, just that somebody is shaking the jar. So they're reframing everything like, well, is it 50% 50% chance of rain, or just 50% chance of a really nice day? And you can emphasize either one.
Actually, well, two things I noticed you said. I love the fact that you said calm, cool, and collected. That is one of the things that I find that people forget to do. They don't, and this is my phrase I've used. I call it a lizard brain and the hippo brain. And I tell my kids that you have a lizard brain and a hippo brain. The lizard brain reacts, responds, does things, and it doesn't even think. It just does, and it's got a lot of energy and emotion. But if you quiet that and go back to your hippo brain, just think of it, it's big and slow and a little bit more thinking. And of course, I'm giving credit to the hippo. They're like, well, is the hippo really that smart? I'm like, it's not about smart. It's just about being slow, and it's just a description. But so the calm, cool, and collected thing. And then the other part was, yesterday, my boys had track scheduled, or cross country, or something for running, a little practice. And it got canceled because there was, I don't know, I think it was like 70% chance of rain at around time when the practice was. And they were like, it's only 70%. That's not 100%. Why would it be canceled?
Right.
They're like, right. Come on, unless it's 100%, you take a chance. You take the chance.
Right. Right. Or, you can think back to, like snow forecasts, and how many times in recent years do, you get all up in arms. That's probably even a better analogy.
Yeah.
Because I remember, seeing schools canceled, and, well, before all of this mess, but, schools canceled. Oh, because, there's going to be, it's a big one. It's coming. Like
I know, right?
Sanford and Son. And, cancel school, everything. Oh, it's all Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Well, and then truth be told, once it happened, it wasn't. And I get the, at least in that, example, better be safe than otherwise. But it's like, we have lived how long, and I just remember, it's one of those, I walked up uphill to school both ways, in my day.
I know, right?
But at the same time, it's like, we didn't get freaked out over such things. It's just it's hyper sensationalism just all over, and unfortunately, some with nefarious purposes finds out that how well it works.
Right.
And that's what's scary.
And again, that's what we want to do. We have these conversations. It's really just to get people to slow down and think. And I know that a lot of these other ones a lot of other conversations are really about entertainment, and we don't want to degrade people. That's one thing that Heather and I have been really careful about doing, is we don't degrade people. We think that everybody needs to be respected, even people that traditionally might say something that we really don't agree with, or have such a hard time, or we know they said something just to incite a situation or to fuel a situation. And it doesn't matter what side it's on. If someone is saying something to try to fuel something, and it isn't like just having a conversation and showing their adult side, that we both have a problem with that. And so we just have always
right.
we're
Right.
kind of like kush. So this is kind of a, I don't know, you can call it a conversations with Heather and Emily, or a face palm conversation.
Yeah. That'll be the little subline.
Another
Today's
face
face
palm.
palms
I
are.
know. But
We
we
can
do.
collect them.
Right,
That's what we
right.
should do.
That would be cool. That'd be fun. So
But I
if
mean,
yeah, so if
yeah.
people agree with us, if 3 people agree with us on the face palm, they can put a face palm like image on their comments or whatever and things like that, and say, I had the face palm too.
Uh,
But ultimately,
oh,
we want us to have these conversations a little bit more focused on civics, government, and
yeah.
understanding the constitutions. We have felt, I have school age children, and we've seen it with others, even adults. I mean, it used to be funny. I mean, remember when Jay Leno would go out, or even Conan O'Brien would go out and have conversations in the street about the Constitution or government or different things? And do you know who the first president of the United States is? And they're like, I don't know. They'd say Ben Franklin. Nope, he was never a president. And it used to be
No,
funny. I remember myself laughing at all these, not realizing that we were on a trajectory to what we're experiencing now.
right. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. And we have what, 52 states? Somebody in a position of prominence said, and I don't know that it was a gaffe. I mean, because we can all make gaffes, and
Right.
that's being human. But
I know. So that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that people will
yeah, some
tune in.
things are said and
I missed that. What?
oh no, I said I don't remember what I said. It's all right.
On my side of the lot.
This is live and uncut. This is just us being us.
Right. So is there any other things we want to talk about today to get started, or do we want to
Well,
give them
I think that a lot of the stuff that we want to continue the conversation, because we have had a number of conversations, is the idea of, if you don't like something that's happening, and we don't care what side anyone's on, but if you understand that we need to have all sides of a conversation and that everybody's opinion is valid,
right.
as long as you can, it's not where it's not parroting headlines. I have a thought, and this is what I feel should be happening. We need to hear all sides of the conversation in our United States of America.
Right.
And two, if you don't like what's happening, you have to get involved and you have to work to fix it. And there's lots of ways, and that's where the conversation, I think we'll have a lot more conversation on that, because there are a lot of ways that one can get involved in, making things better and having that conversation. I would like to, the hard thing too is, and I thought, I don't even know if in my school, if we had a debate club, but I would love to talk also more about how to eliminate or push back, or I don't know what the right word is, those emotions.
Right.
So that way you can have a conversation with somebody that you don't agree with. And probably a lot of it is avoiding. I avoid trigger words because, in my backstory, there was a point where I realized that, I don't know if brainwashing is too big of a word for it, but I had opinions that I don't know where they came from. But I had all these words and I had these feelings that were very, very strong. And then, and I know that it was because labels were not put on. And it's like when you get past all of that, anything that emotionally triggers, and then you're actually thinking, and then we can have like really good conversations. So maybe talking about that, we will explore some of that. But I think most importantly, how does our government work, and are there ways that we the people can get involved? Because I think we've gotten used to thinking that there are career politicians out there, and like as if it is a career, like as if you go to school for that, and that's not the way that our country was founded, and it's not the way it is. Like you said early on, you just have to be, if you can read and communicate, and you're willing to attend, whatever I had seen something on the My Next Door, was it My Next Door app, My
Yeah.
Neighborhood app, whatever it is. And they were, because our township was, it was election time. They said you need to have, I think it was like a high school diploma, maybe, and be willing to attend, whatever the meetings that you're supposed to attend to. There was no, you have to have a degree in political science or anything like
You
that.
shouldn't. And
You shouldn't.
I'm gonna be, it's interesting because a lot of people think that you have to be an attorney to be a state rep or to be a elected official or a mayor, and you don't. And I would encourage people to really get that out of their head. Life experience, like I don't agree that you should be stepping out of high school, becoming an elected official in any way, shape, or form, not city council, not any of those. I don't agree with that. I'm going to be honest. I know there's a lot of these young people, quite frankly, I don't think you should step out of a bar and necessarily be it, but that's another story. You need life experience. I had to throw that one in there, I guess, but you you really need life experiences, and just listening to other people's experiences isn't all of it. You really need your
Right.
own experiences. You need to have the highs and the lows. You need to have worked for something. You need to have failed. You need to have tried something and not just float. And there is
Right.
something about engaging in life. And so I do like the fact that it may be something that you don't do until you're in your 30s, so you've gotten
Yes.
some time under your belt with that. So there is that, and I realize that that's not part of it, and I can't necessarily create that. But at the same time, I'm encouraging to think about that. If we do have somebody younger, or we do have somebody with less life experiences, that we really get to them and encourage them to listen to everybody and not just stay in their own head, because that's what I hear, this tunnel, the tunnel vision of I'm in my head,
Right.
and this is how I think I need to do the world. I joke that Heather and I want to save the world,
Right.
but we
If you
really,
don't
but
agree, you're
ultimately,
wrong.
we what? Wait, what did you say?
And if you don't agree, and if you
Right.
don't agree with what's in my head, then you're wrong and you're bad and you should be censored and you should just go away. I feel like that's what we have is, it's like this 2-year-old thought.
But
I want the
that's why you and
candy
I
in
want
the
to come.
aisle. I'm here.
That's why you and I want to have a conversation, because we, quite frankly, Heather and I don't always agree, but we have a conversation. We talk about it. And I actually, even with that point, I laughed with you talking about the trigger words, because I'm the opposite. I'm like, oh, put the trigger word out there. So even our personalities come out here. Because I go right for, I'm like, go for the jugular, but do it softly.
Well, too, with that, you also have to know who you're talking to, because some people respond to that. So if you can identify that, oh, this is a person that will respond to that, then yeah, I'm not that person. It's like, and anymore, it's like, okay, trigger words, then that tells me, if they're using that on me, that's going, well, nope, I'm just, turn it
Right.
off and walk away.
Right.
At this point, because I'm not going to react to it anymore either. I'm just going to, like, it's
Right.
just,
It's your choice.
yeah.
I always say it's your choice to be offended by anything someone says. It doesn't matter whether you agree
Right.
with it or not. They could say something. People could say something that's really offensive, but you don't have to agree with it. And you also don't have to be offended by it. You can say, that's
Right.
great. And so I usually have that conversation. And obviously some of our experiences will come out in this. We can talk a little bit more about ourselves and what brought us to this point. But I have had those conversations with people who are really, really upset. And I've been able to diffuse them so that we can actually have a conversation. It might not to be all there, might not get to where we are, calm completely, but at the same time, neither of us are canceled. And that's another big thing. I don't want to cancel the conversation on any side.
Right. No, no. And that's what's so unfortunate that's happening. And then you have the self-censorship, which that's where I fall into that. It's like, because that's just like, what, I don't want to go there. If somebody wants to have a real conversation, and share what they really think, not what, again, it's a parroting headlines. There's a difference between having stock in what you believe and having a reason that you believe in X versus,
Right.
just parroting headlines. And and it's like, and unfortunately I think some don't see that they do that. And it's kind of the question that one has to ask oneself: why do I think that anyway? What and to be able to share more about it than just popping in another headline, because that's what those people, that's what it is. It's like, okay, wait, let me dig in my box of headlines. All right, here's the, like in the mental box. Oh, here's the next. Oh, and then it's usually into like 12 different topics, and because they don't know, and it's like, and they're just at some point, which is usually quick in the conversation, they're just scrambling. And I used to call it kind of dodge and divert, but it's not even that. They don't know why some people don't know why they think what they think. They have that emotional response, and, oh, this sounds right. It feels good. Okay, I'm going on that camp. To me, it's almost like sports. And, and people that get so, I just think it's silly, so behind a team, whether that's their alma mater or just something they like. And then, and they have like war against the other. And it's just like, how does that even make sense? But that's where we're at.
Yep.
With everything. And it's
it is. So next time, since there's going to be a next time, we're going to have more of these.
Yeah, there will be a next time.
We're going to get these scheduled, and we're going to have a next time. So next time we're going to do, what do you want to tee up?
Well, if we're gonna start a YouTube channel and put this on there, maybe if people want to put in the comments questions, questions that they have. So how do you get involved, or certain, because like Emily said, so we're not necessarily scholars, but in any of that, but we like to look and find the right information and true information, and so then that might be a help just to share that, so people could leave that in the comments, and we'll see where it goes. There might be nobody watching anyway. I'll come up with some.
Why don't we give them a little bit about our life experiences so they understand where we're coming from and what brought us to this point as far as our life experiences. Do you want to start?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm like, I don't know which life experience. Well, I mean, for me, it was just, I don't know. Do you want me to? I don't know how much we want to.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, okay. So, for example, for me, I'm just going to say my life experience is that like I said in the beginning, I really was someone who voted, and I thought I voted my conscience, and then I just voted and then let it go. I wasn't worried about what was going to happen, because I really thought, okay, I can just go back and live my life. They're going to do their job because I trusted that they were going to do their job.
Right.
Oops. And I could just do what I needed to do, whether it was, work, raise my family, have fun, save money, spend money, whatever. I could just do what I needed to do to get by, and and suffer my consequences if I made a mistake or whatever, and dealt with things, whether it was a car accident or this or whatever. I thought that. Then last year, things changed. Not even because of external. The things that were going on externally were happening already, and I was seeing them and feeling them a little bit, but I wasn't really. There wasn't more. I was still really just wanting to trust that these people would just do the right thing. So last year I stepped into helping a congressional campaign, which actually led to me running for my own elected office, which I will admit, I did win the in-person vote on November 3rd. What was the day? November 3rd. I won that in-person vote.
3rd, yeah.
3rd. When I woke up on November 4th, things had changed, like they had done with a lot of people. So not only did I have the experience of running a campaign and getting in touch with the federal side, because it was a congressional campaign, I had the personal experience of being a candidate and actually talking to people and getting out and knocking on doors and having conversations with people that agreed with me or didn't agree with me or put me under a label. And we had all this stuff going on that I was able to learn a lot. And it was an amazing experience. But because of that, I realized, wait, I've stepped into something that I'm not going to step out of. So then I became a precinct delegate, and now I'm a state committee woman, and I am actually moving forward. I worked with a couple of friends of mine to put together a precinct delegate training. So I really have stepped in with both feet. And through this process, because I go deep, I have learned a lot. And I want to be able to share that. It's always, I'm a believer that if I get information that's good, or I get information that other people need to know, because I know not everyone's like me. Not everyone's going to go deep. Not everyone's going to jump into running for elected office, but they might want to know something, or there might be something. I don't hold it. I've never been one to hold my information, to hold whatever I've learned, whether it's, even if I worked in a company, I was like, if I know it, I'm going to share it. Everybody's going to know it. Why? Because the
Right.
more people that know it, the healthier the company is. I worked with people that were like, if I stepped off the curb, this company would go down the tubes. I'm like, why would you want that? I never understood that philosophy. Right. Don't hold it. Don't hoard any information or anything good, and share it. I'm just real off topic a little bit. I grew up with a little phrase that my mom had, and I apply it to a lot of these things, is that a sorrow shared is half the sorrow, and a joy shared is double the joy. And I apply that to information as well, because the more people that have information done right, because some people don't want to go as deep, so you just have to rephrase it sometimes for them to receive. Like you said, knowing personalities, knowing your audience, but being able to give them information that helps them and doesn't hurt them is huge.
Right.
So that's me.
Yeah, that's good. And then because you've done that research, that was some of our conversations, because it's like, different personality. I'm not one that would necessarily go out and, go door to door, but it's like, I do sometimes consider myself an info junkie, and, and I want to know what's what, but I want to know the truth of what's what, not what somebody else said. And so, it's kind of like, okay, give me chapter and verse of, whatever. But so my background is, where I had a certain belief system, and I was fine with that. And then I had listened to a speaker, and I really liked what this speaker had to say. I didn't know who he was, but then when I found out, it was somebody on the complete opposite side of where I thought I was, it's like politically or mentally speaking, and I thought, oh, could I have been wrong all of these years? Because it was, more of, opposite what I had thought all of my life to that point, but it more aligned like with what my dad, his political belief system, we'll say. And I was like, oh, could I have been wrong? And I don't like to be wrong. It's kind of like the Fonz. It's like, no. And so then I thought about it and contemplated for a long time, and I listened to the other side with open ears, with different ears, ears that was like, could there be more commonality? And I was like, I just wanted to know, because I would much rather not be wrong than hold on to a belief system that just because, I just, again, don't like to be wrong. I don't like to have to backpedal. And so I kind of then from there found how things get manipulated in the system through the media. And it's been going on for a long time. And it's exactly what you were talking about, Emily, at the beginning was, and I'm looking down, like I'm playing with my phone as I'm talking. So I'm like going, what are my eyes doing? I don't know.
I know.
But it's like what you were talking about, and using words, and, and what they have done over time is they take a smidge of truth, and then, it's kind of like sometimes when I go, we have my favorite Chinese food. The only Chinese food I like is like almond chicken, and sometimes you get the little bit of chicken and a lot of breading, and that's what So if we were to make the chicken the lie or the truth, I mean, and then the rest of it is
right,
the narrative that they want to say. Anyway, it made me so angry that I was manipulated in such a way, and so then that opened my eyes. So it's like, I see both sides. I've always been able to see both sides of a situation and understand where this person's coming from, where that person's coming from, and be able to kind of get into the brains of both sides. And this just opened it up further. And so that's why I'm just a proponent for truth. If people are they want different things, they believe different things, but as long as you're presented with truth, that's what we need to have, and have, a good open conversation. Because, and I've heard a lot of different things. It's like, I think we're a lot, if you looked at people on both sides of the fence, there's a lot of commonalities. And so, as we find those and explore those, then we might find that, what's going on? Who's shaking that jar?
Right.
Who is shaking that jar, and why? And it is all a lot about power and control, and and things, and keeping things, well, like you said, the boss, I did this, this company would die, if I was killed, then it would just, everything would just go away. And it's kind of a, what, I don't know what you call that, self promotion, or maybe it's through a if we were to dig deep, it's probably through a sense of inadequacy on their own part, that they feel that they have to do that. I don't know, but that's kind of my background. And again, it's just getting the truth. And then also, when you don't like something, well, how can you get involved at different levels? You know, just to know,
Right.
because if we don't know, like the precinct delegate, that was one thing I think that maybe we can kind of maybe start chatting with. How can we get involved? And that was something that people don't know, and there's a lot of I don't know if I want to say power, but there's a lot of importance in that position. But because we've gone so long without teaching this stuff in schools,
Right.
or even in the home, we could say that, because we're all responsible.
Well,
Then if you don't know, you don't know.
they
And
do
then
say
it
the
can go
precinct
away.
delegate is actually the most powerful elected office. Done well, the precinct delegate is the most powerful, because it actually talks to the people. You start getting elected up and up and up, and when your constituents get more and more and more, it's very hard to be having a conversation with every one of those. So the precinct delegate becomes the most powerful in that way. And
Yeah.
one of the things I like people to think about it, and I always want to leave people with this thought, is that telling the truth, as hard as it is, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you're in a position where if I tell the truth, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt someone's feelings, or I've got to go with my tail between my legs, whatever. There's something about truth that people have a hard time with sometimes, and they don't realize it. But try telling someone the truth about something. Quite frankly, try telling someone they've got spinach in their teeth. You know how hard it is for people to
I
say
know.
that? Come on. But
right.
the point I want to make people understand, the truth is the most freeing conversation you can have. If you want to get out of your lizard brain, tell the truth always. You don't have to be brutal and evil about it, but tell the truth. Tell someone their fly is down. Tell someone that whatever is going on. Just tell them the truth. Start small, but start telling the truth and feel like, wow, there's a lot of power in the truth, and people have gotten unused to it, because at the same time, the other side of it is, if you tell a lie, you have to tell another one to keep the first lie alive. Then you have to tell another one to keep those lies. And it just grows and grows, and it's uglier. And then all of a sudden, if you've gotten to yourself to this point where and a lie can be not saying something. People need to understand that a lie can be holding information in. That's a lie. If it just would have been easier to have just said it. When someone asks you a question, and you think the answer, and you're like, oh, I don't want to say that because that's the truth, but I don't want to say that. Stop doing that to yourself. Be honest. Say, I'm really uncomfortable saying this, but it's the right thing to say. It's the truth, and I'm going to say it. And it may not, and again, truth, someone doesn't have to agree with you when you tell the truth. Sometimes they don't agree with you. It doesn't mean that it's not true.
Right. Or they don't have to like your truth, even if you have, facts and data to back you up.
Right. But I'll tell you what, you can tell a lie, because you again, that's where the conversation is. Start asking questions, start poking holes in it. If you can poke holes in it and they really are legitimate, then you've got to start questioning whether that's a lie, really just being hidden deeper in something. Or if you can't poke holes in it, you've got to sit there and say, I don't like it, but it might be the truth. Right.
And with it, looking for truth versus looking to convince somebody to believe your side,
right,
is completely different. It's like the truth, trust but verify, trust but verify, and the truth will set you free. I'm just, those two phrases were running through my head as you were talking.
Well, lies have to be sold. Truth is freeing.
Yeah.
So think about it. Think about what you're being sold. Think about how much money is being spent to market something.
Oh my gosh.
Anything. Think about this world. That means that there's a lie in there somewhere. Guaranteed. There's a lie in there somewhere. Just, be honest. Coca-Cola is going to rot your teeth, but buy it anyway.
Right.
I mean, seriously,
Right.
don't sell me on my life's going to be
Have a
great.
Coke and a smile.
I know.
Well,
I don't know. Will we get? Should I have said that? Was it bad to be on? To,
I don't know.
Am I product placing? Oh shoot.
Oh, well, we don't have our,
Well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll deal with that when it happens.
Yeah. Well. Right. Oh no. See, here's it. We're gonna get censored right away. It'd be day one. Nope. You have violated. Whatever.
I know. Oh dear.
Oh my gosh.
But all right. Well, we probably should let it go for now because
this will be fun. To have.
Yeah. So we talked about doing.
Yeah.
And maybe as we get going,
we'll have to put this on other.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I said we'll have to put this on other sources also because of that issue. It'd be nice to reach some different audiences and have a really robust scholarly conversation.
Right. And maybe sometimes we'll invite a third person. Who knows? Maybe it won't be just us. We'll see. We'll see where this goes, where this develops.
Right.
All
Exactly.
Well, bye for now.
That was fun.
Bye for
Just
now.
off the cuff.
Yep.
All right. See ya.
Bye.